I wasn't ready to make this video. This isn't goodbye to the studio space that I've called home for the last 3 years. But this is farewell to the space in this iteration of what it's been. I was at an interesting point in my life when I made the decision to get a studio space. I had had one as a shared space with another company for a couple of years. So I knew what it was like to have a space, and I understood the value of having a room to bring clients into where they didn't have to worry about if their office was messy or looked okay on camera. And they didn't have to worry about us coming in and setting up and taking all this time just before we could even film. Like, they could walk in, sit down, and go. That was the big value in getting a studio space, was realizing that I had more I could offer to people, and that allowed me to offer my services at a higher rate, which was amazing. It helped me grow the business. And I think that seeing my name on the building, both like on the sign out front and also on the sign above the doorway, I think that really meant something to me. Because when I quit my job a little over a decade ago now, I was working at the Apple Store, and I'll never forget the manager. When I told him I was leaving and what I was doing, he said, "You won't make it. You won't make it out there, but I wish you luck." And that one struck deep, because I'll never forget, 2 or 3 years into running my business, I was actually going to a business meeting at a coffee shop. And as I walked in, I saw this really long, like a bunch of tables pushed together, and some meeting was going on. And I locked eyes with him, my old manager of the store, and the regional person who had hired me. I was like one of maybe 100 people at the time when I was hired. They brought in like 100 people to interview, and it boiled down to like these final 3, and I was one of those 3. At that time, they said it was harder to get into the Apple Store than it was to get into Harvard. And I just remember looking at him and thinking, I'm here for a business meeting. I made it. You told me I wouldn't. You didn't believe in me. And that just fueled the fire to get me to here and to where I am now. And so I couldn't be more grateful for the position that I'm in. I'm so lucky. So lucky. I think that to be able to take that dive off the deep end, to be able to start a company, to replace your income, and then multiply it, and it's been a wild ride so far, and it's not done. So don't take this video as me saying I'm throwing in the towel or anything. I want you to know that I'm not done with the YouTube channel and creating content for people. In fact, I'm really excited and reinvigorated to make more content. Just know that in this transitional time, I'm not going to have as pretty of a space to work with. So, you might see me doing a little bit more stuff from home. You might see a little bit more impromptu, where I can't always focus on perfect lighting quality or perfect sound quality. But I'm really proud of everything that I did here in this office space. It's just under 1,000 square feet. It's about 875 square feet. So I have a main studio room. I have this room, which is actually my editing room and office, that I've turned into a mini video studio just for the purposes of this video. And a restroom, a storage closet. And it's been a really fun and interesting choice that I made in the middle of a global pandemic. But I was trying to think of what I would say, because it's not really a goodbye to the space. It's just a goodbye to this part of the business and what the business looks like in this iteration of it. And it got me thinking about how the seasons change, and a lot of people get to New Year's and they make a New Year's resolution, and they have this idea in their minds of what they're going to look like in the new year. I'm going to work out more. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do this or do that or read more books. And I'm kind of adopting that mindset with the studio and saying, okay, let's look at this as if it's the new year. What's it going to look like moving forward? So for those of you wondering, well, for the time being, the studio itself is going to be non-existent. I think that it afforded me many opportunities, but it also could be a headache at times. It could be a financial burden. I think that it's a struggle that most people aren't really up for the task of handling. I certainly was up for the task, and I think I could be again at a time where I decide what the next iteration of the studio looks like. But I think that for me, I had to make the personal choice of closing it down for a couple of reasons. One, as much as I had recently bought a house in Baltimore and I've called Baltimore my home for a very long time, my personal status has changed, and I am in a relationship with someone who is not living in this area, and I've made the decision to move to a different state actually. So I'll be leaving Baltimore, Maryland, and moving to Virginia, and that's going to be my new home for right now and for the foreseeable future. So that was the one reason why it didn't make sense to keep a studio that was in Baltimore and to have to commute about an hour and a half from where I'm going to be living. But two, I really wanted to adopt a more minimalist lifestyle. I started to realize that because I had the space, I was collecting more stuff. And I've never been a fan of stuff. I've always been a fan of experiences. So as I walk out of this office, as I create this New Year's resolution, so to speak, or this new vision for what it looks like, I will always take with me just my mindset of not always owning a ton of stuff. And I know this is like the wrong industry to do that, but I think that there are ways to do it. I think there's new and exciting ways to run your business and to not have to have, hundreds, if not thousands of square feet of gear. And I always prided myself when I went to college that I could pack up everything I owned in my car in less than an hour and go. I can't exactly do that today. Life has gotten more complicated, but I still aspire to not need an entire U-Haul truck to get all of my stuff to somewhere else. So this isn't goodbye. It's just, this is where I'm at personally, and I made the decision, and my lease was up. I had a 3-year lease that was up. So I made the decision not to grow, not to stay, but to change. I'm excited to see where this goes. And I just appreciate each and every one of you for following me on this journey, because it's your support that keeps me going and keeps me motivated to keep making content. And so I thank you if you've watched this far, because you didn't have to. You could have just turned it off when you realized that this video wasn't a live streaming tutorial or wasn't about gear. But it's to show you the human side of me and to know that there's a real person on the other side of this. And I just thank you for following along. I really appreciate your support. And let's cheers. Let's say here's to a new and exciting iteration of what the business will look like. And I encourage you too to look at your business and say, what have I been stuck doing the same thing on for so long? And how can I start to turn over a new leaf or, a new resolution? So I just encourage you to think about that. And thanks for watching. Thanks for being along for the ride. I appreciate you, and We'll see you very, very soon. We're not going to stop making content. There's always going to be content coming out here. And yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be good.